Fala galera, tudo bom com vocês? Natália do Ivo de volta para gravar mais um vídeo especialmente para o canal ELASNAPISTA. Mas na verdade eu vou falar bem rapidinho, só a introdução aqui, porque na verdade a grande estrela é Richard Morris. Ele, piloto LGBT assumido, também é um dos cofundadores do Racing Pride, um movimento que busca a inclusão LGBTQ+, dentro do esporte a motor através do automobilismo. Ele gravou um vídeo bastante especial para vocês, contando a carreira dele, contando a história dele, contando como surgiu o movimento, e vocês assistem logo em seguida. Não esquece no final de deixar um joinha, comentar, compartilhar com todo mundo e não deixa também de se inscrever para receber sempre conteúdo de qualidade como esse, que é um pouquinho diferente, e das mulheres no esporte a motor. Valeu!
Hi, I'm Richard Morris. I'm a British racing driver and I am the works driver for a team called Spire Sports Cars. I'm also the co-founder of a new movement called Racing Pride that's all about positively promoting LGBTQ+ inclusivity through motorsport. And I'm going to talk to you a bit about both of those things. So I started racing quite a long time ago now. When I was a kid, I was 12 years old the first time I drove a kart. That was just at a friend's birthday party, but I really loved it. I'd been watching racing on TV for a long time, watching Formula One with my family. My dad used to be a mechanic, and in fact mechanic for my godfather when he used to race a single-seater car quite a long time ago. So yeah, I'd been watching racing on TV. I got this chance to go and try a kart at my friend's party. I absolutely loved doing it. It went pretty well. I actually set the fastest lap at that event, which was a qualifying fastest lap shootout. So got a win on the board straight away. And I just kept going back to try a little bit more, learn, improve. And over time, things got more serious. Within a couple of years, my dad had bought me my own kart and I was racing around local tracks, entering championships, and by the time I was 16, I was racing in the British Championship at that level. Since karting, which was fantastic and I loved it, particularly when I ended up in the 250 gearbox karts, which are just crazy. They've got motorbike engines on a go-kart. Huge amounts of power, no weight, 5 gears. They do 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds. Phenomenal things. I had fantastic fun in them. I was very successful in them. I was routinely in the top 3 of the British Championship. And then since then, I've moved up through some car formulae. Starting off in 2017, I raced a Formula Ford single-seater car, which was almost as old as me. I was racing it in Class B at a circuit called Castle Combe. Class B is basically for the slightly older cars. But it was fantastic. I qualified on pole for my first ever car race, which was quite a boost. And I won on my third ever start, which was also the first time I'd driven the car in the wet. It was chucking it down before the race. And I was nervous as anything sitting in the garage because I knew I didn't know what I was doing. And I was starting in first place. So that was interesting. But yeah, I found a feel for the conditions and managed to take the win with a move on the last corner of the last lap. So dramatic as it comes, and a great memory. That season went well. I won half of my races that year, and we decided to step up to racing in the National Formula Ford Championship. It was a little bit of a leap because we didn't really have the budget, and that meant I had to miss some of the races. So fortunately, you could drop scores. You didn't have to count all of your finishes, so I didn't just have a load of zeros, but it did mean that any issues with the car or any mistakes or any just bad races were going to really count against me because I'd already used up all my drop scores in the events I couldn't attend. But I had a huge amount of fun and learned a lot of new tracks, and I ended up finishing runner-up, second place in the national standings in my class, which was amazing. And at the end of 2018, I got the opportunity to test for Spire sports cars on the basis of how well I've been going in Formula Ford and the fact they were looking for a new driver. And I went along to Donington Park, one of the UK's most famous race circuits, in November, drove the car for a day, absolutely fell in love with it. It reminded me a lot of those 250 go-karts. Again, great power to weight, really lively, really responsive, and they have motorbike engines too. So they have the engines out of superbikes, and they really rev. They rev to 13,000 RPM, so they sound amazing. And I just really wanted to do this. So I signed up to race with Spire for 2019. It was a massive learning curve because sports prototype cars are quite different from the single seaters, but it went brilliantly. I got 8 podium finishes from 7 double header race meetings. I set 3 fastest laps. I got 2 pole positions, and I ended up finishing vice champion. So that was a strong season of a lot of learning. And now I'm still with Spire in 2020. We've got a brand new car, which I'm really excited to race. It's, I think, a good step forward. It's feeling amazing in testing, and we'll just have to see how it goes, really. So that's a little bit about my racing career so far. But I also want to talk to you about racing pride, which is something that I really care about. So I am gay. I've been openly gay in the sport since just after I started with Spire. So just after I'd signed to race with Spire in November 2018. I came out because there's a campaign called Rainbow Laces, which involves a lot of different sports, football, rugby, and things like that. And I'd watched that on the telly, and I realized that nothing like that existed in motorsport, that people weren't comfortable talking about this in motorsport. And I guess that I had an opportunity to change that. I felt like I was in a good place in my career, having just signed to race with Spire. I was really happy with that. I had a partner who I'd been with for a long time. And I thought, well, if you don't say something, nobody will. So why don't you try to start something? And that's when the idea for something like Racing Pride started to make sense to me. I came out within motorsport by posting on my Instagram account a picture of me and my boyfriend saying that I'm proud to be gay in motorsport, and that hasn't always been the easiest thing to be. And the editor of Sky Sports, who handles all their Rainbow Laces coverage, saw the post and added me, and we got talking. And he also said he'd been talking to this motorsport journalist who was interested in doing an inclusivity movement in motorsport, so why don't we talk to each other? And that's how I met Christopher Sharp, who's my co-founder of Racing Pride. John put us in touch. He also put us in touch with Stonewall, and things started to happen from there. Stonewall's the UK's leading LGBT charity, and they have lots of experience of doing these sorts of things. And we started to acquire some more people who came on board. So we have Charlie Martin, who was in from a fairly early stage because of her relationship with Stonewall. She's a Stonewall sports champion, transgender racing driver. We also got in touch with Autosport, and particularly an editor called Matt Beer, who got the Autosport Academy involved, and some other people. That's when we got Ian Soman, who's now one of the directors of Racing Pride. It's when we reached out to Matt Bishop, who's a famous Formula One journalist who was director of communications in McLaren Formula One team. He's now W Series director of communications. And through that link, he brought on Sarah Moore, who's racing in W Series, as another one of our driver ambassadors. And later, Matt was also to facilitate our link with Abby Eaton, who races in W Series and has become one of our driver ambassadors. We also, at the same time as meeting Matt, met Oliver Warman, who tried something similar called Gay Racers in the past. And he was really keen to get on board with what we were doing. So we realized that there was some momentum starting to build by the fact that we had this network of people, and we had a little bit of media reach through the support of Autosport and Sky Sports. And we launched in June 2019 in Pride Month to say that we want to start a movement that really makes change in motorsport. And what I mean by change in motorsport really is to create a culture whereby people feel comfortable to be themselves if they're LGBT, and a culture where people think about LGBT issues, think about what they're saying and the environment they're creating for LGBT people, and also for motorsport to be leading the way in acceptance of LGBT people too. Motorsport has an enormous reach and it can really positively influence society. If everyone in motorsport says how supportive they are of LGBT people, and if we show that through the way that we act, we can inspire people in broader society to follow that lead too, the people who watch the races and the fans. So what was it like for me developing in motorsport as an LGBT driver? Well, I think the sort of biggest issue for me really was that I didn't feel like I could talk to anybody about that. And the reason for that was that there just weren't any role models for me. I didn't know anybody who was LGBT in motorsport, and I hadn't seen any famous racing drivers who were. And so I just didn't know whether I'd be accepted or not, and that made me quite anxious. It wasn't helped by the fact that there were one or two little incidents, most of them not deliberate, where people made me feel like I might not be accepted. So just using homophobic language occasionally, even if it's not being done to offend someone, it makes it harder for a gay person to come out. There was one particular direct incident where somebody wrote homophobic abuse on my kart back when I was kart racing, and that was very difficult, but mostly it's just things where people aren't thinking about what they're saying. And that created a culture where I didn't think that I could talk to anybody. I think what we've realised with Racing Pride, though, is that actually the vast majority of people in motorsport are good, supportive people, and that has been my experience of coming out in motorsport. My team did get behind me, and nobody's, particularly put me down since I came out or anything like that, perhaps because I'm at a stage of my life and a security in my life and career where, I could take it a little bit more, so it's not quite so easy to bully me. But yeah, people have been really supportive, and one or two sort of comments aside, it's been really positive. And I think the point of Racing Pride is to show that motorsport can be like that, and to put in place role models who are showing that they can be successful being LGBT in the sport, so that kids in karting, when they look around for role models, like I did when I was in karting, they see people and they see that it's going to be okay to be LGBT in the sport. And that will encourage more people into our sport, and that'll be a really great thing to do. So yeah, that's why I want everyone to get on board with Racing Pride. This isn't attacking motorsport. This isn't saying that there's a problem with motorsport. It's saying that motorsport can do something really positive if we all get together and make it happen.